Hello buddy, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around we are on the Iron Sand Desert playing as the force of Norsca against the force of the Greenskins. And in this match I really wanted to try one thing, and that was feral mammoths, because I've been hearing a lot from different players. They're kind of OP at the moment, they're a bit overtuned, and honestly I don't really use them myself, and so I wanted to give them a shot. Now feral mammoths, for those of you who don't know, obviously when Warhammer 2 rolled around they were given the Rampage trait, and I do believe this came with a price cut. They dropped from 1,700, I think, to 1,500 gold, and that makes them pretty damn cheap. Now, obviously their stats, their leadership is a bit lower. Their melee attack and melee defense is a bit lower than War Mammoths. They've got 40 less armor, only 30 instead of the 70 that a War Mammoth has, and about 1,300 less HP. But they cost 700 less gold than a War Mammoth. So essentially, when you bring 3 feral mammoths, you're paying the same thing as you would for 2 war mammoths, which is pretty nuts. And so I kind of decided to make a build around it. For my lord, I'm rolling with Throg. I think Throg's a decent choice. He gives this build some much-needed AP anti-large, especially against Ragnarok spiders that it would lack otherwise. He's not terrible against Greenskins either, since their missile pressure isn't the most amazing. Obviously, he does have Fight or Die. I didn't bother with Vomit or the Crown, because I figured, you know what, we're probably not going to get much value out of it. Our front line, complete trash. 2 Marauders without chevrons, 2 with, but these guys are not going to do much. They're basically just there to follow up with the mammoths, try to screen them, try to protect them, and do as much supplementary damage as possible, maybe deal with the goblins, that sort of thing. On the flanks, we do have a unit of Norscan Ice Wolves, as well as Skin Wolves on one end, and then the Beasts of Tashnar, as well as more Skin Wolves on the other. You don't really need high-end AP anti-large against most Greenskin units. Obviously, against the Ragnarok Spider, you might be in a bit of trouble, but that is why we have Throg. And honestly, the Mammoths, while their stats are not great, with 500 weapon strength, if they hit, they're going to be doing a lot, even to a Ragnarok Queen. Finally, to support, we do have a Shaman Sorcerer of Fire. This is a combo I really enjoy with Empire, actually, is a single model entity like a Steam Tank comboed with the Piercing Bolts of Burning, because you can really just cleanse away whatever filthy trash is trying to swarm your big stuff. You also do get some other nice stuff. Fireball, which is really strong against Greenskin casters and cheaper units and lords, and especially some of the squishier lords. Cascading Fire Cloak for protection, Scroll Shielding, and then Kindle Flame to get more damage out of our fire magic. And then 3 feral mammoths. So these guys are our line breakers. We're just going to try to YOLO them in, wah or no wah, and swamp our opponents. Now for my opponent, he does outnumber me by a good bit. You can see almost 800 troops to our 500. But he hasn't gone super heavy on missile pressure, which is definitely going to be beneficial for our mammoths. For his lord, he does have Scarsnake. Not much to be said for him. He's got Wah. Scarsnake, surprisingly a decent pick nowadays, with his solid melee stats, respectable HP pool, and the fact that he has Wah, he can kind of just stay in a fight and recharge Wah. And that's really all you're looking for in a lord, in a sense. Alongside him, an Orc Shaman, who's coming in with Fists of Gork, here we go, as well as the Power of the Wah. So my opponent looking to get as many buffs in as possible, but he doesn't have any Goblin Shaman, which means that there's not going to be a Vindictive Glare trying to snipe my Mammoths early on. And that's definitely very good for me. For the rest of my opponent's build, well, the front line, 2 Black Orcs there as an anchor. Black Orcs pretty strong against Norscan Berserkers, as well as Fimir, which are a pretty common sight in this match. And they are backed by a whole bunch of Savage Orcs. You can see some Savage Orcs there, some Orc Big Guns as well, Savage Orc Big Guns. And these units are really, really solid. They'll mulch through the squishier Norscan trash, and I definitely have to watch out. Obviously, if Savage Orc Big Guns get us around on a Feral Mammoth, they will beat through that 30 armor very, very quickly and tear it to shreds without a doubt. There are 2 Savage Orc Airboys behind that, providing a little bit of fire support, as well as a single Nasty Skulkers for that snare with their Smoke Bomb. And then finally, we do have 2 units of Force Goblin Spider Riders to provide a little bit of flank protection. And that's really what we got to we got to try to get past those boys and shut down the backline here with our Norscan Ice Wolves and our Skin Wolves, because this is basically our pseudo-calf contingent. Skin Wolves obviously should dice through Force Goblin Spider Riders and Nasty Skulkers and Archers and that sort of thing if they get the opportunity. Now, we're not doing much intellectual maneuvering here, pushing straight in. You can see I cast an Overcast Fireball on the Orc Shaman, immediately hitting him for quite a lot of HP, and because my opponent had Scarsnake lined up right behind him, we actually lucked out on RNG, and it's Scarsnake for another 900 or so HP, which is definitely a bit lucky there. Not intended, but hey, I'll take what I can get. Over here, Throg is going to dive in against the Ragnarok Queen, start laying the smackdown on her. Now, obviously, he's not going to do the most amazing job ever as he gets distracted by these Black Orcs, but hey, at least it's something. And in the meantime, the Mammoths are going to pile through. You can see these Black Orcs immediately losing about 1,400 HP on the charge there. And the Feral Mammoth is basically a big chariot and just going to push right through, going after these Savage Orc Airboys that threaten us. Over on this flank, in the meantime, Beasts of Tashnar and our Skin Wolves are going to dive in, start tearing through these Nasty Skulkers and these Force Goblin Spiders. We're going to hit these boys with a Cascading Fire Cloak, keeping them in tip-top shape. at preventing these 4 Goblin Spider Riders from doing too much work. Unfortunately, though, this boy over here, this Feral Mammoth, getting a bit surrounded. One of the very important things to keep in mind when you've got Feral Mammoths on the field is that their leadership is terrible. Their base leadership is 55. If you are worried about Feral Mammoths, the best counter is just to break their leadership. Because if we look here, you can see the base of 55, and immediately with damage sustained, melee contact, all this other stuff is immediately just dropping that leadership like a bomb. And definitely it's a struggle. Over here, we rampaged into Savage Orc Big Guns, which is immediately a very bad thing for the Feral Mammoth. We're just not able to really trade well there. That said, the Piercing Bolts of Burning are coming in, and this is why you bring them. And you can see that punishing barrage. They're just destroying Savage Orcs, Black Orcs. The Spider Riders immediately terror routing, and these guys are never going to recover. Once they rout, we're going to run them down with our boys over here. And my opponent doesn't have the tools to pursue our Mammoths. These guys at 5,300 HP, they will squeak away and survive. My opponent's cavalry has been broken, and because of that, he's got nothing to pursue. So definitely a bit of a rough position for him. And elsewhere in the meantime, you can see we're running off these Skulkers, running off these Force Goblin Spider Riders with our Cav contingent, while in the back line, another Mammoth just dives in here and crushes these Black Orcs. And it really does a lot of work. Black Orcs don't have the best melee defense to begin with, and when they get clumped up like this, they just get trampled into the dirt. And now our Shaman is in there on his chariot, doing a lot of damage, up to 53 kills with that piercing bolt, and the Mammoths racking up the kills here, stomping all over these boys, and they really don't stand a chance. And now the Marauders can just do cleanup in aisle 9, breaking all over the place and pursuing my opponent. And you can see the Mammoth here rallying, 5,300 HP still on, and it's able to just push in. And you can see, because my opponent has invested so much effort into shutting down our Mammoths, he has not been able to shut down a lot of our infantry. So our Marauders still in fairly good shape. Both of our Skin Wolves in relatively good shape. The Beasts of Tashan are in okay shape. And even our Mammoth here, 5,300 HP, diving into the back of these Black Orcs and doing a lot of work. And sure, my opponent is trying to make the most here of Here We Go and all those abilities. But as he's been forced into this pocket, he's getting squeezed from all sides. And of course, Orc leadership, not the most amazing thing ever. We deny my opponent the ability to chase Throg off the field. Throg broke, unfortunately. And you can see the fear and terror kicking in. The Savage Orc leadership buckling under the pressure from the Mammoths. And now it's basically game over. It's just clean up in aisle 9. You can see some Savage Rook, Arab Boys, and Spider Riders rallying over here, but they're going to be interdicted by our Marauders, who obviously not the most amazing unit ever, but they will be able to cut down these spiders as they get snared because my opponent wasn't paying attention. He was just trying to get them into the fight, obviously trying to rescue Skarsnik and the Queen. And at this point, you can see we're pulling away our Mammoth here, trying to get a bit of a cycle charge in. My opponent's summoning some Spider Hatchlings to bog us down, but really, and none of it just matters at this point. You can see we're running everything down. The Shaman here being surrounded, beaten by Marauders, and shortly we're going to stick our Ice Wolves on him. You can see there, the puppies are disengaging, going after him. And he's not going to be able to escape. Orc Shamans don't have the best of melee defense, only 28 in fact. So he's going to get torn apart. Waaagh is going in, but this Waaagh is basically pointless. At this point, there's nothing really to gain anything from it except the Ragnarok Queen and the Skarsnik, and they're surrounded and getting beaten down. Skin Wolves, obviously, not ideal against an Ragnarok because they just don't have the armor-piercing values, but still, with the surround like this, with the exhaustion setting in, dropping our armor values, it doesn't really matter. Another Mammoth coming in, charging from behind, smacking into that spider booty, and just it's going to be GG at this point for the Norskins. So, I would definitely say that, well, I don't know. Mammoths are good. I definitely think that they can be a powerhouse in a good situation like this one. At the same time, I do think my opponent, his build was simply not great for countering me. I think that I honestly think that the Ragnarok Queen is not a good choice against Norsca. I think you're better off going very heavy on Daka. You can bring a front line of Black Orcs and Savage Orc Big Guns, crush whatever infantry they've got, and then up, you can have a bunch of shooting. You can have Savage Orc Arrow Boys. You can have the Rusty Arrows in there, and they will overwhelm. Something like a Mammoth. If my opponent was able to just keep firing, if he had, say, Nasty Skulkers, and like you can bring this command squad if you really want, an Orc Shaman and Skarsnik. It's not what I would recommend. I'd probably bring Wardsag because I'm a sweaty tryhard. But if you don't want to be sweaty tryhard and you want to do this, or Orc Shaman and Skarsnik, all the power to you. You can definitely do it. But I would definitely ditch the Spider Queen and bring more Daka because I think that would counter the Feral Mammoths. The Feral Mammoths did a huge job here, but they did get snared in a few spots. The Savage Orc Big Guns definitely did a number on them. My opponent blobbing helped a huge amount with our piercing bolts. They wouldn't have gotten much value otherwise. But then again, you kind of have to blob to stop the Mammoth from running amok. But still, that was a big benefit there. I don't think the Feral Mammoths are necessarily OP, but I think they're very powerful. And given how cheap they are relative to a normal War Mammoth, it's definitely a pretty potent situation. And if you want to make them work, I think a build like that is definitely not a bad way to go against Greenskins. because you do have some backline harass. You do have the tools you need for supporting your mammoths, I think, and I would say that it's a decent build. But if you're trying to go with Greenskins here, I would just want to do a quick example build. Even if you did what my opponent there, what Luke was running, yeah, he didn't run Strixes, he just ran Swarznig. So you can see it's so cheap. Like if I run my usual kit on Wartsag in comparison, and bring like this with Wartsag, it's 2,300. But then again, my opponent was bringing an Orc Shaman on foot. I don't think he had evasion, power of the wall, obviously. So something like that. I guess the cost is pretty similar. Wartsag versus just Skarsnik and a caster. But regardless, you get Skarsnik and you get your caster boy. No Ragnarok Queen. For a core, let's say we could do with 3 Black Orcs and then like 2 Savage Orc big guns. And then you could do like Rusty Airs, Savage Orc Air Boys. Honestly, you could throw in like 2 Goblin Archers in there, some Night Goblin Archers. Honestly, you could go for a nutty firing line. And then bring like 3 Nasty Skulkers. And this sort of build, like obviously if your opponent tries to rush into your backline, you got all these Nasty Skulkers, you got all this backline defense. Obviously you can go lighter on the Night Goblins. You don't have to bring this many. But it's just kind of showing how much DACA you can bring, and safely in my opinion. Otherwise, another thing you can do is bring a Night Goblin Shaman, strip him down. You don't need to bring any of this stuff. Bring literally just Vindictive Glare. Boom, Wand of Jet. 300 gold on the dot. Still leaves you with a couple points to upgrade your Skulkers. And you now have something that can do about 1,700 or 1,500 or whatever damage to the Mammoth in a burst. Otherwise, Gork will fix it. Another good option. There's just a lot of options. You have to crowd control a Mammoth and deny it getting into your backline. And if you can deny getting into your backline, overwhelm it with fire, get it to rout, then you're going to be in such a good spot, in my opinion. And you can kind of pick apart each Mammoth one by one. And Norsca doesn't necessarily have the best tools to sort of shut this down. Regardless, that's just my 2 cents there. Hopefully, this sort of helps if you were looking at it from the opposite side of the table, from the Greenskin side. I definitely don't think Mammoths. I don't think I agree with the assessment that Mammoths are OP. I do think they're very potent though, and you do have to treat them with respect. You have to be on the lookout for them because you can bring 2 Feral Mammoths or 2 War Mammoths are the same as 3 Feral Mammoths, so you can have a huge Mammoth power and still have a lot of money for additional tools. And you can and quick match. You're not. It's not like you're limited by. Normally your single model entities are limited quite a bit, but you can have it at least 3 in a quick match, so that's very, very solid. So regardless, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it entertaining and fun. I do apologize for sort of the inconsistent video publishing. Hopefully I'll see. Hopefully my consistency sort of improves. Just had a lot of real life things that need dealing with, and makes it difficult to keep a consistent update schedule. But regardless, I do appreciate you guys for watching. Do appreciate your guys' patience. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Wyvern out.